said above, it moreover failed to subdue Karamoja and Turkana. After independence, this former colonial army became very brutal and engaged in massive extrajudicial killings at every opportunity. During the 1966 crisis, a lot of people were killed. When Museveni was shot, 1969, a lot of people were killed. Throughout the reign of Amin, during the West Nile operation of 1981, during the operations in Ruero of 1981 to 1985, etc. So, the history of bad armies, that's what I am trying to bring to you. The history of bad armies for almost 400 years, from the time of the, I really pity some of our people, because when they talk as if Uganda started with the British. It's really amazing. Even if when Jesus was born, you were not there, but you know what happened. Somebody is saying that they were not there, but you were a Christian, but were you there when Jesus was born? or when Muhammad was born, were you there? We belong to things even if we are not there. We inherit. We call it heritage. So there is the Christian heritage, there is the Islamic heritage, but there is also the Great Lakes heritage. We are people of this area from time immemorial, and we shall be here forever. That's why, therefore, I am disturbing you by unearthing this history, because you don't have time to know about yourselves. You know about everybody else except yourselves. That is why from NASA, so what I'm telling you all this to bring you to the present. That's why from NASA, the NRA, the National Resistance Army, the NRM, and the UPDF made it their core point to build a detribalized, disciplined, and ideological national army. During the 8 years of the anti-Amin struggle, this was one of the major points on which we disagreed with Museveni and the UPC while we were in Tanzania. The climax of our disagreements and different viewpoints was reached in October 1978 when Idi Amin attacked Tanzania. At that time, the UPC had a force of about 1,000 people at Kigwa in Tabora, Tanzania, remnants of the 1972 anti-Amin debacle. There was that invasion in which I also took part of 1972, which was defeated. Now, these 1,000, mainly Achoris, who were at Tabora, were remnants of that force of 1972. So these are the ones the late Tito Kero and Oito Jok came with to the front line at the end of 1978. On our side, we had a group of 28 cadres whom I had spent 2 years training at Montepuez, Mozambique, plus a few individuals we had trained earlier, including Ahmed Seguya, who had been part of the 1972 group that we had trained in farm number 17 in Nachingwea, Tanzania. These were trained for us by Frelimo of Mozambique with the permission of Mwalimu Nyerere. I arrived on the front line on the 23rd of December, 1978, with some of this group. By the 11th of April, 1979, when Idi Amin fled Kampala, we had a force of 9,000 fighters and cadres, while UPC comrades only had a force of 1,900, including the original 1,000 that had come from Tanzania. Now, you need to study that. Why is it that we who had a smaller force, I had only 28 fighters when I arrived on the front line on the 23rd of December 1978. The UPC had 1,000. But by the 11th of April, when Amin collapsed, our force had grown to 9,000, while the UPC was still only 1,900, including the original 1,000. So you should study that and know why. The rest, as you know, is history. By 1986, the contending two lines, ours, because there were two lines, there were two lines of thinking. We were saying we need to build a detribalized, ideological army. But our brothers were saying, no, politics kwa jeshi mbaya sana, they should build askari, just askari na askari too, that he should not have any ideology in his head, and he should just be a soldier. So, by 1986, the issue had been resolved, as you saw. By 1986, the contending two lines, ours of building an ideological, detribalized, a national army on the one hand, versus our brothers of relying on sectarian ones on the other, had resolved itself in favor of the former. Militarily gaining the upper hand by the forces of patriotism also helped the politics of the country. The previous politics of sectarianism of religion and tribe was replaced by the politics of patriotism and Pan-Africanism. Nevertheless, even today, some elements still try to revive the politics of sectarianism. That, however, is a subject of another day. On the military and security side, a national patriotic force had been born, and Uganda has never looked back again. Having an ideologically patriotic, Pan-Africanist and transformational army different from the Barusura of Kabarega or Abamboa of Mutesa I, or Enyena of Ntare 5 of Ankole, or the King's African Rifles of the British, or the Uganda Army and the UNLA of post-independence only solved the problems of ideology and composition of the National Defense Force. So, what did we solve in 1986? We solved the problem of how should the army be composed. Should it be composed democratically by recruiting from all parts, all the districts, equitably, or should we recruit it the way it was recruited before? That one was resolved. You see for yourselves. The other day I was in Adjumani, and the children there were complaining that they could not fulfill their quota because they had each district has got a quota. When there's recruitment, each district must bring so many people. But when I went to Adjumani, the children there were complaining that when they were checked, the blood, many were found with hepatitis, and they were not admitted. So they couldn't fill their quota. That's what they were talking, that's what they were complaining about. Then I said, you look for the ones who don't have hepatitis until you fulfill your quota. So, by 1986, what was resolved was how should the army be composed and what should be the ideas in the heads of these soldiers. And our answer was it must be composed nationally through quota recruitment from all districts, and it must be ideological, not partisan, but ideological.